We are going to be talking about my national service experience. Hey loves, thank you so much for stopping by on my channel. My name is Rich Lam. As always, if you're new here, thank you for clicking on this video, and if you're an old subscriber, thank you for supporting my channel and share this video to as many people as you can. Let's get straight into the video. So for those of you who are probably starting out as service personnel this year, you are wondering, what should I expect? What if I don't like my organization? Am I going to be retained? How to identify whether you're going to be retained or not? All these things I'm going to be sharing with you in this video, so I got you. First things first, what is national service? Basically a year-long duration where you have to serve your country in the form of working for an organization, whether government or private, with which you will be assigned to. That's it. During this period, once you are assigned to the organization, you are going to be required to work with that organization as a full-time worker. And through this experience, the idea is that you get practical skill sets. The idea is that you get to build relationships. You also get to experience how real working environment looks like and how things generally go on in the working space. After that 1 year, the organization with which you have been assigned to either chooses to retain you or let you go. I think Nigeria has an equivalent, which is NYSC. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section down below, but I think Nigeria also has a similar thing to what we have here in Ghana, which is national service. First thing, you might not be placed in an organization where you necessarily like. For me, for example, I wasn't really having any preferences as to whether I liked this organization or I didn't. In some extreme cases, so probably you don't have the resources to relocate, I think that is a genuine enough reason for you to seek for an intervention. To seek for an intervention, to probably change the organization. So like I said, you would probably not like the organization that you get placed in, but if it is close to you and if there's no real reason or genuine enough reason as to why you can't work with that organization, accept it and make the most out of it. And point number 2 is that once your postings are out, do not waste time. You have to get there as early as possible. The trick is, once you get there early, all the good spots are going to be given to you. When you go there early, or when you report to work early, all the good departments are open, and usually the organizations fill in those departments first. What this does is that it gives you the opportunity to actually be placed in a very good place. I want to share this little bit of experience with you guys. So when our postings came during our time to do our service, we reported to work. Most of us reported to work very early. So once we got there, we were just giving the department that we had to work in. But for those who came later on, they were either told to go back for reposting because all the places had been filled up, and it's just too stressful for you. You've been placed in an organization, but because of the fact that you just couldn't report to work on time or as early as possible, you have to go for a whole new process for you to be placed in another organization, which to me, if you ask me, is too much stress for me to handle. Another thing that it does is that it just shows how professional you are. It portrays you as someone who is very professional, someone who is very disciplined, and someone who has very high work ethic. The third thing that you have to expect is that within the very first to second week or so, you wouldn't be doing any meaningful work. use that time to get to know the organization, get to know, their products or services, their vision, their mission. I mean, all these things are going to be, given to you during the orientation process. But personally, take it upon yourself to understand their mission, their vision, their purpose for existence, and their stakeholders, the chain of command within the organization, the departments within the organization, how all the departments function or come together to fulfill customers' needs and wants. It's going to be good for you to understand these things, because sometimes, depending on where you get placed, these things are going to be required of you to know generally. It also depends on the organization as well, but it's just good for you to have an idea of what the organization you are working with is about. So the fourth thing to expect is with regards to workload. For my colleagues, for example, for some of them who were placed in other organizations, the workload wasn't as much. The need for them to be around at the organization was lower as compared to other organizations. For my organization, for example, we were required to really do a lot of work. We had less free time. You had to report to work. Maybe for you, you might have, been placed in an organization that requires very little of you, and in that situation, how can you make the most out of it? One thing you can consider doing is that when you realize this, you can consider starting a business on your own. Being in that environment is the best place for you to start a business, because one, you have all the time in the world, because you're not required to be present as much as compared to other people, and two, you have that environment that can serve as your target markets for whatever you decide to do, be it selling products or providing a service. Even though we had a lot of workload and we were required to report to work every day, I still started a business while doing my national service. One thing it also did was give me, a little bit of income from the side to support myself while I was still doing my service. The third thing that you should expect has to do with your allowances. Yes, alawa palava. So, for the allowances, I think the very first month or two, you shouldn't be expecting to be paid, because it generally delays. They don't pay you once you have started, your national service. So you have to really prepare, how you are going to support yourself during that period. I know it's not easy, to go back and forth to work and come back home, but you have to find your way around it. That is why I said that it's good if, you can consider the idea of starting a business or a side hustle, which can support you in that event. National service, pays what we call allowances. They don't pay salaries, they don't pay wages. They are called allowances because, the amount isn't really something as huge as what, a salary would, amount to. One thing that I'm sure most of you know that, the allowances is not up to 600 cedis. So with that being said, I think you can also make the most out of that money, regardless of how little or small that it is. One thing that I personally employed was the 50-30-20 principle. So one of the things that you can consider doing is employ the 50-30-20 principle, which is what I personally did. So 50% of your allowances every month is going to go into your needs, so your basic necessities. 30% of that money is going to go into your wants. And finally, the 20% of that money is going to go into your savings. Now, if you watched my earlier video in 22 things I've learned in 23 years, I talked about the fact that you need to start investing as soon as you can. So that's what the 20% does, or savings does for you, is that it helps you to gather little bits and pieces of your allowance, which you save every single month, and then you are able to get a considerable sum of money to invest at the end of the year. At least that's personally what I did, and it really worked for me. Now, the seventh thing that you should expect is that you are not going to like everyone, and not everyone is going to like you. As normal as it sounds, there are different kinds of people from different, orientations, different perceptions, and so on and so forth. And there are people that you're going to meet that are going to be very helpful. They are easy to talk to, they are easy to confide in, and they easily help you, with anything within the working environment. And there are people that are just not going to like you for no reason at all, and you have to be okay with it. Because if you say that you are going to dwell on, people that don't like you, or dwell on that kind of behavior or attitude towards you, you are not going to enjoy your service period, I assure you. So try to, get along with everyone, but just know, within you that not everyone is going to like you. The eighth thing that you have to do is that you need to learn how to network with your staff, your colleagues. So just know how to network and build social relationships within this period. Take advantage of this time to build social relationships. One thing that was very helpful for me was, getting to know my other service personnel, even those who were not assigned to my department. We really built that kind of relationship, which is still existent today, even after our service. So I always like to talk about networking because it is so important. Relationships are built on networking, societies are built on networking. So try to network with as many people as you can. And it doesn't mean that you have to make friends with everybody, but just know how to build meaningful relationships. The ninth thing that I want to let you know is that you need to be confident and know your worth. The fact that you are doing national service doesn't mean that you should give anyone the opportunity to walk all over you. No, you don't. National service, the fact that you're doing national service is actually very important. You are as equally as important as any other staff member in that organization. Without you, they cannot work, and without them, you cannot work. So know your worth and be very confident. Be very confident in your abilities to deliver. Be very confident in your abilities to perform a task that you have been assigned to. And be confident, in the way you portray yourself, the way you talk, the way you associate with people. And when people see you as confident, they relate to you in that kind of way. It makes people not walk all over you, and it also makes them respect you. Now, the 10th thing to expect is that you will not always be recognized by people, be it your boss, be it your colleagues, be it other staff members, for the kind of work that you do. And beyond that, even beyond that, with that being said, you really still need to continue with the work that you're doing. Don't have the mindset that, after all, no one is going to recognize me for doing all this work, so what's the essence? No, I assure you that, service is an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for you to brand yourself. So just do the work. Now, point 11 is that you need to work. As Rihanna Riley said, you need to work. Because at the end of the day, national service is a way for you to serve or give back to your nation or your society. So what's the essence of going to work and not doing the actual work you get? So put in the work. Avoid any bad attitude towards work, like sleeping on the job, not reporting to work on time, being late all the time. I mean, once in a while, for one reason or the other, you might definitely not report to work on time, but it shouldn't be something that is consistent. It's a very bad look on anybody who is doing their service. So really put in positive attitudes. The 12th thing has to do with dating whilst doing your service. Now, I am a personal advocate for no such thing. Probably for you, you might be okay with it, but at least for that 1 year, don't consider, entering into any romantic relationships with a co-worker, a permanent staff, or a fellow service personnel, because in that working environment, it's just not professional in my point, of course. One thing I suggest is that you probably can wait just focus on building a meaningful friendship with that person or that other person, and wait for about a year after your service. And then after that year, I see no reason why you should continue with that relationship or with that person. Point number 13 is that you might or might not get retained. Unfortunately, I was not retained by my assigned organization. Probably you might be lucky, you might get retained. But one thing that I really suggest you do is that 6 months into the service year, you can start inquiring from staff, departmental head, whether the organization actually retains service personnel. And if that is not so, because there are some organizations that don't retain service personnel at all, in that situation, I mean, you have to look forward beyond that. But for those organizations that do retain service personnel, just inquire as to how you can actually also get retained by that organization if the opportunity presents itself. Now, if the organization does not retain service personnel, what you can actually do 6 months or even 7 months into your service year is to start thinking of handing out applications as soon as possible. You cannot waste time. You don't want to finish your service year and come back home now start thinking of ways and means of handing out your applications. I think I have probably covered almost everything. I hope this video wasn't too long, but yes, I hope this video has been helpful to anyone out there who is about starting or has already started their service. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. Probably you have questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you guys, and please do feel free to subscribe, like this video, share to anyone out there who is about starting their service or is already started with their service. And yes, I'll see you guys in the next one.